What would you do if you were forced to sleep for a long time, like if you were in a coma, and while in that long-lasting sleep, you experienced sleep paralysis and sleep demons over and over again? You would have to lie there frozen, unable to move, unable to speak or scream. Then as you lay there, captive inside of your own body, you sense that dark, evil presence. It visits you every time you slip into sleep paralysis. Is it a ghost or a vengeful spirit? All you know for sure is that it is scaring the hell out of you. Hello there, welcome. Thank you for joining me on another night filled with tales of terror. Tonight's video is all about sleep paralysis. Have you or do you know anybody who's ever suffered with sleep paralysis? I can't even imagine what it would be like. But I just know it's got to be terrifying. Now, before we begin, I just want to introduce myself. Hello, my name is Roberta Griffin, and I want to say thank you for checking out my channel, Scary Girl Griffin. I also want to let you know that everything you hear on this channel is either factual or fictional or somewhere in between. But I will always tell you at the end of every video what it is that you just heard. So before we get started, get comfortable, click the like and subscribe buttons, turn down the lights, and let's begin. My name is Anna, and I suffer from sleep paralysis and sleep demons. Anna was sitting in a circle with other individuals there to share their experiences with sleep paralysis and sleep demons. It was a support group. They all looked tired and defeated, but I guess having someone to talk about this issue with was a blessing in its own way. All sat quietly as Anna began her story. It's been about a year since my husband and I were in a terrible car accident. He didn't make it. I was in the hospital for a few months. They put me under a medically induced coma due to all the trauma in my head. Anna rubbed the scar on her head as a reminder. And that's when it started. I didn't know I was in the hospital. I didn't know we had been in an accident. And I didn't know where John, my husband, was. I was in our bedroom, inside of our house sleeping. At least I thought I was sleeping. I heard John whisper in my ear. He said not to worry. I didn't understand what he meant by that. Why should I worry? Then I felt him get into bed with me. He held me for a while. I could feel his breathing against my neck, but I couldn't see him. I wanted to ask him what he meant, but I couldn't speak. I couldn't move. Even though I knew John was there with me, I became frightened, and it seemed to go on forever. John would leave, and I would sleep, then he'd come back. Each time he returned, he became more and more frustrated with me, and I didn't know why. It got to where I began to dread his visits because even though I couldn't see him, he began to scare me. With each visit, I would freeze up. I couldn't move. I couldn't see him, but I could hear him and the anger in his voice. "I told you not to worry," he would say.
"Damn it, Anna, stop worrying."
His angry words turned into screams.
"You weren't paying attention, were you? Anna!"
I could hear accusation in his voice. With every visit, the room grew darker. Then the rage came. His last visit while I was still in my coma was the darkest and most frightening of them all. I was in our bed. Lying there, I realized again that I couldn't move. I couldn't speak. I could do nothing but lie there in the dark. Then I heard stomping. Someone or something was stomping up the stairs. I knew it was headed for me. I lay there frozen, my eyes closed, my heart beating out of my chest. It was John, but it wasn't John. The voice I heard was a guttural, raspy voice that sounded like it was coming from within a corpse.
"Anna, I told you not to worry, didn't I?"
Then there was a banging on my door and my eyes opened, or at least I could see my bedroom door. It vibrated as John pounded on the door from outside. He growled and demanded to know why I had to worry. Worry about what? I wanted to ask, but I couldn't. I lay there helpless as the doorknob began to twist back and forth. He was trying to open the door. I could hear it rattling as he tried to get in. He wanted to kill me. I knew I was going to die. I was going to be punished. The door finally flew open, and my eyes fixed on the doorway, I caught a glimpse of a dark shadow slip into my bedroom. And still, there I was, unable to move, unable to speak. All I could do was wait. Then I heard a guttural grumble right next to my ear. It was right next to me, growling. I wanted to cry. I was so scared. Then, as loud as imaginably possible, it yelled out my name.
Anna!
I moved. My body was sore, but I was moving. Then I heard my name called over and over. Anna, are you with us? I blinked my eyes open, and I saw a bright light. The light burned my eyes. I was in the hospital, and a doctor was there looking over me, checking my pupils with that little pen-like flashlight. There were nurses there. Then I saw my mother and sister. They both watched me with tears rolling down their cheeks. I had no idea what was going on. I asked for John, and a silence filled the room. The doctor looked at my mother and sister and stepped outside the room. The nurses did the same, but they didn't go far. I could see them lingering by the door out in the hallway. My mother took hold of my hand, and through her tears she joked out the words, "Anna, honey, John died." What? No, that wasn't possible. She told me I'd been driving and John was in my passenger seat. We were on our way to see a movie. I had ran through a red light and I caused a terrible accident. I began to remember it all. We'd had plans to see the latest Marvel movie. I knew there was going to be a line, so I wanted to get there extra early, but John had gotten home from work a little late. Frustrated, I told him I would drive because I knew that if I didn't, we would run even later. In a huff, I started up the engine and we were off. John kept telling me not to worry. He said we will get good seats. We may even get to watch the previews for upcoming movies. He knew I loved doing that. He said, "Don't worry," as I gunned it through the red light. My heart was broken. Anna finished her story. She left some in tears. They all agreed to return for the next meeting and said their goodbyes. Anna went home. She poured herself a glass of wine and sat on the couch. She thought about everything she shared with the group and pondered if she was really going to go to the next meeting. She downed her glass of wine and started up her stairs heading to her bedroom. Anna was tired and depressed. She kicked off her shoes and pulled off her jeans. She practically dropped onto her unmade bed, grabbed a pillow, and held onto it. She lay there as she felt the tickle of a tear roll from her eye down her face. She clutched the pillow and closed her eyes for a second. When she opened her eyes, all she could see was darkness. Then she sensed a malevolent presence in her bedroom. She knew it was John, still angry at her for causing his death. She wanted to tell him she was so sorry, but she couldn't speak. And again, she was paralyzed. She could feel his anger and hatred for her. She lay there again, helpless to do anything. Then she heard a shuffling sound. It was coming toward her, the feeling getting more and more sinister. She could hear it breathing. It was a croaking, garbling sound, and it was shuffling closer and closer to her. She tried to scream, but she couldn't, not out loud anyway. It moved slowly towards her, tormenting her with its darkness and evil. It was now at the foot of her bed. It was looking at her. It growled. Anna was petrified. It leaned onto the bed and growled again. Inside Anna's mind, she was begging for this to end. She couldn't take it anymore. But it didn't matter. It was now crawling on the bed towards her, its cold hand reaching for her neck. She couldn't breathe. It was choking the life out of her. It growled, then it shouted in its vile, ragged voice,
"I told you not to worry!"
So, what'd you think of tonight's video? Were you able to guess that Anna's story was indeed a work of fiction? If you did, you'd be right, because she is a character that I created for tonight's story. Whether tonight's story was true or not, I really do hope that you enjoyed tonight's Tales of Terror. And before we go, I do want to remind you to check out my other videos for more scary entertainment. Click the like and subscribe buttons, leave me a comment or a message down below, and prepare for more Tales of Terror delivered to you weekly at 3 a.m. So until next time, stay safe and stay scary.